Welcome back to the channel. So today we will be covering clause 5, which is on ISO 42001. The clause 5 tells about leadership. This is the clause that decides whether your AIMS is actually a living system or it is just a dead PDF sitting in your file system or on your SharePoint. So let's get into it and understand further. So before we go deep dive further, let me ask you a quick question or a simple question. Imagine your company has successfully achieved ISO 42001 certificate. The auditor walks into a CEO's office and asks, can you explain your organization AI policy? What AI risks are you monitoring? How are you ensuring AI is used responsibly? And the CEO replies, I am not sure. You will have to ask the IT team. At that moment, your AI management system starts falling apart. Why? Because ISO 42000 is not just a IT standard. So it is a management system standard. And the management systems always begin with one thing, that is leadership. So today we are going to understand the clause 5, which is a leadership clause. In my opinion, that this is one of the most important clause of ISO 42001 because this clause decides whether your AI management system is actually being followed every day, yes or not, or whether it is just another policy document which is stored in your SharePoint that nobody reads after the audit, right? AIMS should become your organization culture, not just a part of your documentation. So let us understand what ISO 42000 expects from top management. So there are three requirements of ISO 42001 clause 5. The first is 5.1, which is a leadership and commitment. The second requirement is about 5.2, which is AI policy. The third is roles and responsibility. So let me tell you why leadership matters, right? So many organizations thinks AI governance is a responsibility of IT team or the governance committee or a CISO. That's only partly true. They can implement the control, assess the risk and maintain the documentation. But only top management can provide the directions, resources, priorities and authority needed to make the AI governance successful. Without leadership support, AI governance becomes just another compliance exercise, right? So your top management must be driving this entire framework implementations or so before we go further, let me ask you one important question. Who is top management? So top management is actually a person or a people who are responsible for making strategic decisions for the organization. Depending on your company, it can be your CEO, it can be managing director, it can be board of directors, it can be CXO or a business heads, right? These are the people who decides whether the company is going, where is company going towards, what are the strategic decisions, what are the goals of the company, what risk the company is willing to take, where the budgets are allocated, right? Which projects are getting priorities. And since AI impact customers, employees, compliance, reputations, and business decisions, leadership, so they cannot simply delegate things to the responsible people and just forget about the framework, right? They must be aware about each and everything what is happening in your framework, what is happening in the organization. So they must be on top of everything. So the top management must be aware about where AI is being used in the organization, what are the risks AI introduces, what regulations are being applied, whether the organization is using AI responsibility, yes or no, whether enough resources are available to manage those risks. Think it like this: a CEO does not actually go and configure your firewalls, right? But they will still have the understanding about the cybersecurity risk, right? And how it can impact the business. So AI governance is exactly the same thing, right? So CEO must be aware about the risk related to AI and what can be the risk which can impact the business operations, right? So one line answer can be the top management does not need to know how AI works. They need to know how AI can impact the business. So let us go and deep dive further and understand the requirements of 5.1, which is the leadership and the commitment. So the first requirement is 5.1, which is a leadership and the commitment. And the first requirement is ensuring the AI policy and the AI objectives are established and compatible with strategic decisions, right? So AI should support the business vision, business goals, right? So the first requirement is very simple. The way you use AI should support the organization business goals and the vision. So for example, if your company says that we protect the customer privacy, but your IT team is using customer data without proper permissions, then your actions does not match your business values. So the leadership should identify and stop this conflict, right? And they should identify before the auditor comes and catches those, right? So it should be aligned with your business vision and the business goals. Second is ensuring the integrations of AIMS requirements into the organization business process. So AI governance should not be treated as a separate project that only IT team is responsible or AI governance team is responsible, right? So it should be a part of the organization normal way of work, right? For example, whether AI application is developed, checking AI risk should become a standard step, just like a security team testing or user acceptance testing, right? So it should be a part of your entire SDLC life cycle. So then the requirement is ensuring that the resources needed for AIMS are available. So many organizations wants ISO certification but don't provide enough resources. So they don't assign people, they don't provide trainings, they don't allocate budget, right? Without resources, AI governance cannot succeed. So the top management is responsible for making sure that the organization has the people, tools, training, and the budget required for the AI governance implementation. Then we have communicating the importance of effective AI management and conformance requirement. So this talks about the responsible AI. So leadership regularly communicate why responsible AI is important, not just during the audit. It could be during the company's meeting, it could be town halls, it could be leadership emails, internal newsletters, or internal discussion with the teams, right? So every employee hears the same message from the leadership, that they understand that AI governance is everyone's responsibility, not the management or not the specific team. So those who are working towards AI, those who are working on the AI projects, right? Everyone should know the requirements of AIMS. The framework should be understood properly. Then we have ensuring the AIMS achieve its intended result. So this talks about the monitoring whether the AI system is actually working or not. So leadership should not assume that everything is working fine. They should actually go and regularly ask the questions like, is there any AI risk which needs to be treated or mitigated? Is there any AI related incidents? Are we meeting our AI objectives? Yes or no, right? So all these questions becomes a monitoring part, right? So when the leadership asks such questions, they will get to know more details about what actually is happening in the organization or in the projects, right? So this discussions helps management to understand whether the AI system or AI management system is actually working or not. Then we have directing and supporting persons to contribute AIMS effectively. So this is actually encourages employees to speak up, right? Creating the right culture is very important. Suppose an employee discovers that an AI model is producing biased result. So they should be feeling comfortable and reporting those issues. So leadership should encourage the employees to raise concerns instead of ignoring them because of the project deadlines or maybe deliveries. So if they don't report, then such issues can be impact the business operations, right, in the future. So we have to make a culture that people can easily approach the top management or a leadership and they can report such issues, right? So responsible AI starts with an open culture. Then the last one is promoting the continual improvement. So this is actually making your AIMS more and more mature. So AI, we already know that AI keeps on changing day by day. So we can say that AI is changing very quickly, right? So new technology appears, regulatory changes may come in, right? Business need or the requirement of the customers may change, right? That's why AI governance should also improve continuously, right? If we have implemented AI culture or AIMS framework in our organization, that means we also have to mature that. We also have to improve that as per the requirements, as per the business needs, as per the customer expectations, as per the regulatory changes, right? So we have to keep on changing or improving our system so that it becomes more and more effective. Then the last is supporting the other relevant roles to demonstrate leaderships in their areas. So this is actually an empowering the right people, right? The leaderships should give authority to the people responsible for AI governance. So for example, your CISO or a AI governance lead or a compliance manager or IT head should have both responsibilities and authority. So they should be responsible and they should have the authority to control, manage, and govern the EIMS system. So it should not enough to say that you are responsible, right? If you don't have authority, you can't take the actions, right? So you should be having the authority and you are also responsible for that. So they also need a management support to make decisions and implement improvements, right? So if you have the authority, you can go and make the changes, appropriate changes, documentation changes, so that your AI systems get more and more mature and more effective. So if you don't have the authority, you have to depend on the top leadership or the top management, right? So they should also delegate or they should also empower the right people, right? And they have the right authorities and the right responsibility so that they can go and work towards betterment of AIMS and the betterment of organization. So let me give you an example, the audit example, right? So during an ISO 42001 audit, don't be surprised if the auditor asks your CEO or a senior management questions like, what is your AI policy? What are your biggest AI related risks, right? How often do you review your AI governance, right? So all these questions can come from the auditors, right? So when you go and take a participation in your external audit, right? So the external auditor definitely asks any such questions. And if the leadership is confident and answer those questions, then definitely they will understand, they will identify that the culture is very good and the leadership is also understanding the requirements of AIMS, the importance of AIMS. And if they don't answer a simple questions, and if they say that you can go and ask the appropriate team, then it shows that the leadership is not actually involved, right? And they don't actually participate in this governance, and this actually breaks down your entire framework. So this should not happen, and the every leaders, every top management, or every individuals of the organization should be aware about what is AIMS, what are the importance of it, right? Now let us move to clause 5.2, which is AI policy. So think of your AI policy as a rule book, right? So how your organization will develop and use AI responsibly. So just like every company has an information security policy for ISO 27001, right? So ISO 14001 expects you to have an AI policy, and AI policy should include appropriate purpose of the organization, provides the framework for setting AI objectives. It should include the commitment to meet applicable requirements. It should include the commitment to continual improvement of AIMS. It should be available as a documented information. It should be communicated to the entire organization so that they understand the importance and the requirement of the AIMS. A good to have requirement, it should be available to the interested parties as appropriate. So this policy should answer simple questions. How do you how do we want to use an AI in the organization, right? So this can be one of the requirement which can be fulfilled in the AI policy. So I have drafted a sample AI policy documentation. So as I said in my earlier videos, I will be posting all these documentations, sample documentations in my GitHub repository, so that you can take a reference of these documentations and you can modify according to the requirements as per your organization requirement, and you can utilize those documentations. At the end of this video series, I will be uploading all the documentation. So stay tuned and keep watching all the entire series. So a policy should answer a simple questions. How do we want to use AI in our organization? Now, what should be included in the policy, right? So it should suit your business requirement, right? So as I said, it should include the purpose of your organization, your vision of your organization, right? So your AI policy should match the organization business need. So for example, if you are a hospital using AI, your policy should focus on patient safe healthcare risk, right? If you are an IT company developing an AI solutions for client, your policy should focus on responsible AI development and customer trust. So one policy cannot fit every organization, right? So every organization has a different vision, different purpose, and according to that, they have to create their own AI policies. It should provide a proper direction. So the policy should not contain only generic statements like we support ethical AI, right? So this is a very generic statement. So instead, it should guide the organization. For example, AI systems must be risk assessed before deployment. AI projects must be follow defined governance processes. So this statement helps teams to understand what is expected. So this requirement should be very clear in your policies document so that everyone understand the requirement, and according to those requirements they can work on, right? Then the third is it should commit to a legal and regulatory compliance. So the policy should confirm that the organization will comply with applicable laws and regulations. So the laws can be DPDP Act, it can be RBI guidelines, it can be GDPR, it can be European Union AI Act, or any industry specific requirement, right? So the exact regulations will depend on the business in which we are dealing, right? So according to that, we also have to consider the regulatory compliance, legal and regulatory compliance. Then it should include the continual improvement part, right? So AI, as we discussed, that AI is changing every day. New technology, new risk, new regulations keeps on appearing, right? So your AI policy should clearly state that the organization is committed to continual improving its AI management system, and how you are going to improve that. You should also have to describe those improvement steps, right? How you are going to evaluate, how you are going to improve, right? So all those things also needs to be documented. Then it should be communicated. So creating the policy is not just about creating and keeping it on your SharePoint or on your file system. Every employee of the organization must be knowing what AI policy is, what is written in that policy, what everyone has to follow from the policy documentations, right? So people working on AI, they should understand the requirement of that, and wherever appropriate, customer, regulators, or any other interested party should also be knowing, or they should be able to access those AI policies, right? So you can keep it on your website that this is our AI policy and we are following this framework, right? So the common mistake what I have seen very often is company actually downloading a generic AI policy from the internet, changing the company name and getting it signed, right? So this is not the right approach, right? You should understand the actual core business requirements, the regulatory requirements, the customer requirements, your AI system requirements, and you have to design your own AI policies. So your AI policy should reflect your business, your AI systems, your risk, right? Remember one thing, a policy is valuable only when the people understands it and actually follows it, right? Make sure that everyone is aware about the policy, the requirements of AIMS, and they actually go and follow that. Now let us move to clause 5.3, which is roles, responsibilities, and authorities. This clause is all about ownership. So everyone should know who is responsible for what. Without clear responsibilities, people start saying that I thought someone else is handling it, right? So this generally happens with many people or many organizations, right? So if you don't have properly defined ownership or responsibilities, then this kind of situations may happen with anyone, right? So top management should clearly assign and communicate roles related to AI management system, right? So ISO specifically highlights the two important responsibility. The first is someone should be responsible for making sure that AI management system complies with ISO 42001. In many organizations, this could be the AI governance lead, it can be CISO, it can be compliance manager, or it can be IT head, right? So their job is to make sure that the management system is working and effective. So the second is someone should regularly report the performance of AI management system to the top management. This should not happen only during the audit period. So leadership should receive regular updates from the committee through meetings, through dashboards, or through management reviews. So this should happen on a continual basis. So example can be, let us say a company develops an AI based recruitment system. Now you can ask yourself, who approves AI models before it goes live? Who checks the model for biasness? Who handles the customer complaint? Who reports the AI related incidents to the management? So if these responsibilities are clearly defined, everyone knows what to do. So if they are not defined, confusion begins at that particular stage, right? And that's exactly what an auditor look for, right? So you should have clearly defined the ownership responsibilities for each and every AI systems or stages or management system so that they know what exactly they have to do. So the key takeaway from clause 5.3 is not about just creating a long organization chart. So it is also about making sure that every important AI activity has a clear identified owners, right? When responsibilities are clear, accountability becomes very clear. And when accountability is clear, your AI management systems becomes much more effective. Make sure that you have proper AI roles and responsibilities and authorities defined in your management standard. That is it for this video. Next video we will be covering clause 6, which is on a planning. This is going to be a most technical and complex clause of ISO 42001. So stay tuned for the next video. If you like the video, press the like button and hit the bell icon so that you get the notifications when the new video gets uploaded. Subscribe to the channel so that it grows, reaches to more and more people. You can also share the video links to your friends and colleagues so that they will also understand what AIMS is and what are the importance of AIMS. We'll see you in the next video.